Hello, I'm Kyle, and for my energy project, I chose to talk about a wind turbine that was being built in Missouri. So, the energy will be harvested in multiple counties within Missouri, and the project is being undertaken by a company called Tenaska, as well as a company called Liberty Utilities. These are ongoing efforts, and the project has been in production since about 2019. That's because it's a pretty extensive amount of steps involved in getting the production of the wind farms up and running. Due to the longevity that wind turbines have, extensive research must be done to ensure that it's sustainable long term. So, most of the time spent since the opening of the project in 2019 was on various surveying and studying programs done to make sure that the local environment would not be interrupted. Uh, the counties where the wind farm is going to be located on include some of the oldest counties in all of Missouri. Right here, there's a map that shows you where the two wind farms are going in. One is called the North Fork Ridge, and one is called the Kings Point Wind Farm, and it's mostly going on farmland split between four counties in Missouri. Uh, so, due to them being really old counties there, and addition to the fact that they must take precautions for Native American burial sites, they have to take their time to make sure that there's no artifacts or anything being found there. Because if there is, they might have to seize production because it might be a historical site or hold ancient significance to the Native American population of the area. So, moving on, one thing that we should keep in mind when talking about these wind farms is that they are not owned by the two companies previously stated. It's on a lease from mostly local farmers in the area. It'll be a 30-year lease. So the energy source being used for both of these obviously is wind. Um, the wind machines have the ability to harness wind energy, and it does this by having wind push the propellers in a circular motion. So here I will show you a map uh, that shows how a wind turbine works. If you want to go to the site, you're more than welcome to. If you hover over a certain part of the wind turbine, it'll tell you what it does and what general use it has inside the motor itself. But in general, the propellers are connected to a main shaft, and that allows a generator to spin, and it creates power. Um, so when a location is being selected for a wind farm, you do need wind in order for it to run. That way the propeller will move and energy will start to be harnessed. In addition to needing wind flowing into the area also needs to be relatively flat, and obstructions such as trees or mountains may decrease the amount of wind present in the area. So it's another reason why this location in Missouri is pretty good because it's mostly farmland, it's mostly flat. There's not a whole lot of obstructions in the way. Um, in addition, most wind turbines are set to shut down if the wind speeds are too fast, so they had to monitor the wind speeds on average for a while in these four counties to ensure that it wouldn't be too fast so that the wind turbines wouldn't be able to operate. So wind turbines actually have a big environmental impact, both positive and negative, and I will explain the two here. So during my research, I came upon mixed viewpoints of the environmental benefits of wind turbines. The benefits are plentiful, but the negative side effects do make me worried about large-scale implementation in certain areas. So once again, just note that the location is super crucial to limiting environmental damage done. For example, places with large bird populations or large bat populations might not want to implement wind turbines because they do tend to interfere with the native avian populations. Um, so the location in Missouri seems great though, because it's mostly, like I said, flat open land used for farming. Um, and most of the livestock around is cattle or other grass feeding animals. So wind is a so it has a lot of benefits, like I said, and some of them include that there's no reliance on fossil fuels and that there's no smog or other negative pollutions as a byproduct. Wind is a sustainable resource, so harnessing wind puts less of a strain on non-reusable resources. And of course, the creation of wind turbines means more jobs in the area, in this case, Missouri. So the company constructing the wind turbines also made a good point that the local landowners will be able to generate a stable income from the leasing of their property. So they get to lease their property for the wind turbine usage, and then whatever area is not being used, they can still use for farming. Additionally, this will lower the amount of pesticides and other harmful pollutants put into the soil by farmers for at least the duration of the lease, because anywhere where a wind turbine is, there will be less products being used. Um, so a reason to be cautious normally with wind turbines is the effect that it would have on marine life, but these are being built in the middle of the country where there's no large water mass anywhere in the area, so we do not have to worry about that. The main environmental damage that will be done is to birds and bats. During my research, there was no clear consensus on how to limit the fatalities of birds and bats, and there's uh, no clear consensus on if wind turbines are obstructions to them. But it is something to consider before finishing construction. In my research, I didn't find that there was a large bird population in the area, but like migrant patterns are something to keep an eye for, just to make sure that there's none coming in the future, because that could result in a long-term negative effect to a local bird population. So in addition to the toll it takes on these birds and other animals, it could also affect humans negatively. Multiple government organizations have been able to prove wind turbines do not cause any permanent damage to the ears. However, there have been many cases where wind turbines are built that local residences find the noise to be irritating. So I have a video um, about the sounds of that the wind turbines would make. And around the 7-minute mark is where I want to take you.
Remember, we're close now, just 250 meters away.
So this is what a wind turbine would sound from about 250 meters away. Now to me, that's just like empty noise. It's not something that would bother me. But for some people, I could see it being an obstruction, and I could see it being rather annoying. So that does showcase how loud wind turbines can be under different circumstances. So if you want to take a look, the video is about 9 minutes long, and it takes you through a variety of distances and a variety of wind speeds and weather to show you, or so you could listen to how loud the wind turbine would be in different settings. But I went through the whole video a couple times, and it never really seemed to bother me. But again, if someone has sensitive ears or something like that, it could be an issue for them. So while there is a decent amount of environmental impact that goes into the production of wind turbines, they are largely made of plastic and steel, both of which use fossil fuels to be created. Wind turbines do not last forever, and on average must be taken down after about 25 years. They are largely recyclable, but the blades themselves are not. They cannot be recycled and must be put into a landfill. This is very negative impact on the environment because of the sheer size of the blades. They can be as long as 300 feet, so the process required to disassemble and destroy them is costly and ineffective. In addition, they have to be put in a landfill. It's not great for the environment. The energy generated from the wind turbine itself has little to no environmental impact. The energy is clean, and it does not release any pollutions as a byproduct, as previously stated. The energy can then be stored at the source using transmission lines. So it's generally, overall, I'd say more beneficial to the environment than the use of natural gases or other fossil fuels. So overall, I believe that wind turbines are very useful, and in this case in Missouri, it will help reduce the overall reliance on oil in these counties. Going forward, however, I believe further investments must be made into allowing windmills to stay and operate for longer periods of time. I believe that 25 to 30 years for the amount of resources that go into the creation of windmill farms does not justify the amount of energy you are getting out and the amount of damage that is being done to the local avian population, like we talked about. So if there are alternative energy methods available, I would look into those. Or if there's additional funding that can occur to increase the time from 25 to 30 years to something more like 50 to 60 years, I think then it would be a great route to take in terms of environmental sustainability. Thank you all for listening, and I look forward to your responses.